What's up guys, it's your boy Mad Mike, and on today's episode we're going to replace the alternator, we're going to change out the belt, and then we're going to have a look at the front brakes and see if we can get them unseized. So stay tuned, check it out. Alright guys, so first things first, we're going to grab a multimeter, we're going to grab our battery, and we're going to go to 20 on the settings on our multimeter. We're going to put it onto the connections. Once we have the battery hooked up, we're going to start up the car and we're going to check to see around 12.4 and 12.6 volts on our multimeter, and that means your battery's at a good charge. Once you fire up the car, you're going to want to see this should jump up to around 14.2 kind of thing. That'll show you that your alternator is charging your battery while your car's running. If you have 13 or lower, or 12.4 and lower, that means your alternator is not charging your battery. So check your connections, and then if your connections are good, possibly your alternator is bad. So let's go ahead and hook up the battery, fire up the car, and we'll see if we see change on our multimeter. Alright guys, so in the engine bay, I got my battery hooked up. On my multimeter, I set it to 20, so everything's zeroed out right now. Alright guys, gonna take my positive. I'm at 0 right now. We should have over 13. 12.7. You can see how it's pulling power out. My alternator is most likely dead. Got my negative, my positive, and as you can see, I'm drawing power. I'm not putting out power. The alternator is not charging. Alright guys, let's go ahead, disconnect the battery, we'll crawl underneath the car, we'll jack it up, and we'll yank out the alternator and the belt. Alright guys, the car's all jacked up. Let's crawl underneath it and start removing that alternator. It's better if you can let it soak overnight, but in my case, probably give it 20 minutes. So you got two electrical connections. One clip right there. You got one right there underneath that boot cover. You've got two bolts that hold the alternator in place. That one and one on top. And then your alternator will just drop right out. Let's go ahead and do that now. So I got the top bolt off. I'll see if I can show you guys it. See if I can hold the light and the camera at the same time. There we go. The alternator might drop. I got the bottom 13mm bolt still hooked up. My electrical connections are loose. So once I get the bottom bolt out, I can drop it out from the bottom. Boom. There's our top bolt. There you guys have it. The belt and the alternator are out of the car. 2 bolts, 2 electrical connections, and that's it. Took me like 10 minutes. So let's go ahead and order a new one. So there's a way to bench test your alternator as well by checking the ohm output. So I'll probably go ahead and do that, but this one here is looking pretty toasty. It got rained on for probably like 10 years, so yeah, let's just go ahead and replace it anyways. And you can see the belt is completely chewed up. It's missing a bunch of rubber. This thing is no bueno. Looks like a squirrel's been chewing on it. Looking at the alternator here, number one, when you spin it around, sounds like crap. Secondly, ton of corrosion on the inside there. All the elements on the Fieros, the vents are just above the alternator on the Fieros, and if you leave them outside, all the rain and snow just drips on them for years and years and years. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this heat shield. I'm not sure if my new alternator is gonna come with that or not. So we'll pull that off. We'll clean up the two nuts that hold it in place, and yeah, we'll have a new alternator and a new belt in no time. I've just gone ahead and cleaned up the heat shield for the alternator. Might as well while everything's off the car, and that way when you reinstall them, everything looks nice. Out with the old, in with the new. Once I place my alternator on order, while I'm waiting for the part to come in, I'm gonna go ahead and remove my front and rear wheels and start addressing the seized calipers. Alright guys, so I just went ahead and dropped the front end of the car. That way the weight of the car is on the wheels. So when I break these nuts loose, the wheel doesn't spin with me. So let's go ahead, crack these nuts loose, jack the car up, pull the wheels off. If you guys have an impact gun, great, good for you. If not, I like to do it the old-fashioned way with a piece of piping or some leverage, aka breaker bar. Alright, the studs on this side here are all broken loose. Let's go ahead over to the passenger side, crack those loose, take off the tires. Alright, we're nice and safe. Let's go ahead, pull up the wheels. Well guys, we got the wheel off, and as you can see, there's cobwebs and a ton of rust. So for today, what I think I'm gonna do is have a look at the caliper, have a look at the brake pads, have a look at the rotors, just give it an overall inspection and see what parts I need to order. But for today, I'm just gonna go ahead and try to clean up as much rust as I can so I can move the car around under its own power, because right now, having these seized rotors, I'm unable to drive the car in and out of the carport to work on it. I'm just gonna try to get these to rotate freely so I can move the car in and out so I can keep working on it. So the rear brakes are a lot better. They actually move, and that's because when we towed it home, we towed it from the back wheels and they're spinning all the way for about an hour on the highway. So they actually move, so it won't be as bad as the front. We still got good brake pads, calipers are still in good shape, rotors are still good. There's just a ton of surface rust built up on everything. So I might be able to salvage these brakes, or I might have to rebuild them. Well guys, I think that's gonna be it for today. We got some good progress done. We were able to remove the old alternator and belt, as well as we yanked off all four wheels so we can address the brake situation. So make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.